MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 278 of Clean Up on Aisle 45. It's Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. I'm Allison Gill.
What's up, AG? It's Harry Dunn here. Okay, we got lots to cover today, including, get this, the DOJ announcing a $1.7 billion fund to pay insurrectionists using our taxpayer money, and Trump planning to pardon 250 people on America's 250th birthday.
Also, Jamie Raskin has proposed a bill to compensate law enforcement officers who defended the Capitol on January 6th. And there's a lot of blowback after Governor Jared Polis, a Democrat, commuted the sentence of Tina Peters in Colorado, another insurrectionist. But first, we have a lot of Hall of Fame patrons to thank. So thank you, Dr. David, Alma Rennan, Kate Just Kate, Jeffrey Kincher, Deborah Kirby, Mr. Halfspeed, Cliff Cash, Karen Sherman, Joan Qualls, skintwalletusa.com. Wants your butt to look great. Use coupon code CLEANUP to get 10% off. Well, shit, do I keep mentioning Baltimore? Yes, the answer is yes. Kimberly D. Stephen and Greg Crimer. Thank you all so much for being patrons. We appreciate you. All right, this is banana pants. Let's jump in. This is insane. This is from the Associated Press. The Trump administration Monday announced the creation of a $1.7 billion fund to compensate allies of Donald Trump who believe they were mistreated by the Biden administration Justice Department. The Anti-Weaponization Fund was announced by the Justice Department as part of a deal to resolve Trump's lawsuit against the IRS over the leak of his tax returns. And I want to be clear here. This wasn't part of a deal to this isn't a settlement. He dropped the lawsuit prior to creating this fund, so it's not part of the lawsuit.
Yeah, it's not like one or the other thing. So, and get this, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said in announcing the fund in a statement that it was a lawful process for victims of lawfare and weaponization to be heard and seek redress. Democrats and government watchdogs immediately pledged to fight what they called a corrupt and unprecedented resolution, warning that the arrangement would unjustly enrich people close to the president with taxpayer dollars and open the door to meritless claims of political persecution. Trump's lawyers disclosed the dismissal of the case in a filing Monday in federal court in Florida, where the president sued earlier this year.
Yeah. Now, this fund would represent not only a highly unorthodox resolution, but also a further demonstration of Trump's eagerness to reward allies who, before Trump came to power, were investigated and in some cases charged and convicted. Most notably, the president on his first day pardoned or commuted the sentences of supporters who rioted at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. His Justice Department since then has approved payouts to supporters entangled in the Trump-Russia investigation and has investigated and prosecuted some of his perceived adversaries. Quote, this case is nothing but a racket designed to take $1.7 billion of taxpayer money out of the Treasury and pour it into a huge slush fund for Trump at DOJ to hand out to his private militia of insurrectionists, rioters, and white supremacists, including those who brutally beat police officers on January 6th, and sycophant accomplices to his election-stealing schemes. That's Rep. Jamie Raskin, top Democrat on House Judiciary.
Love Jamie Raskin. He always calls it like it is. Trump's attorney suggested in their court filing seeking to dismiss the case that the resolution would not be reviewable by a judge, but a group of 93 members of Congress filed a brief teeing up a challenge. It was not immediately clear who precisely will stand to benefit from the fund, but its creation reflects Trump's long-running claims that the Justice Department during the Biden administration was weaponized against him.
Yeah. Now, he cited as proof of the since dismissed criminal charges he faced between his first and second terms of conspiring to overturn the results of the 2020 election that he lost, of retaining classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. And several aides of his were also prosecuted, as were hundreds of Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol. So we're talking Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, Boris Epstein, John Eastman, Jeffrey Clark. He could pay Michael Flynn for this, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, all the insurrectionists could become millionaires. And it also could go to some of the Republican members of Congress who participated in the coup that were looked at by Jack Smith. Merrick Garland, who served as Attorney General, has repeatedly denied allegations of politicization and has said his decisions followed the facts, the evidence, and the law. His Justice Department also investigated Biden for his handling of classified information and brought tax and gun charges against Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
I wonder, does Hunter Biden qualify for this since he was
Well,
prosecuted?
no. I mean, he does, but he's not going to get anything because the commission board is appointed of 5 people by Trump who are fireable and answerable to Trump, and there's no oversight. So,
yeah. Nonetheless, Trump's current Justice Department has actively pursued the president's retribution campaign and grievances, bringing criminal charges against some of his political opponents and initiating a wide-ranging investigation that aims to establish a years-long conspiracy between law enforcement and intelligence officials to destroy Trump's political prospects and keep him in power. No charges have ever been brought in that investigation, and it is not clear that any ever will be.
Yeah. This is just so horrible. Now, Trump filed the lawsuit earlier this year, January 29th, actually, in Florida in federal court. I think he was hoping to get Eileen Cannon, but he got Obama appointee Kathleen Williams. And said that the previous leak of his and the Trump organization's confidential tax records caused reputational and financial harm, public embarrassment, blah, blah, blah. Now, the president's sons, Don Jr. and Eric, also are named as plaintiffs. Yep, the crotch fruit are plaintiffs in the suit. In 2024, former IRS contractor Charles Littlejohn, who worked for Booz Allen Hamilton, a defense and national security tech firm, was sentenced to 5 years after pleading guilty to leaking the tax information about Trump and others to two news outlets between 2018 and 2020.
In the first sign that a settlement was coming, lawyers for the president asked a federal judge last month to pause the case for 90 days while the two sides, it's literally two sides of the same coin, while they work to reach a settlement or resolution. This limited pause will neither prejudice the parties nor delay ultimate resolution, the filing said in April. Rather, the extension will promote judicial economy and allow the parties to explore avenues that could narrow or resolve the issues efficiently.
Yeah, and when asked in February how Trump would handle any damages, he said, "I think what we'll do is something for charity. We could make a substantial amount. We could make it substantial. Nobody would care because it's going to numerous very good charities." And he actually said, "I would be negotiating with myself." He admitted he's controlling both sides of this lawsuit, and he said he would tell the DOJ to pay him. Now, a group of lawyers, amici curiae, wrote to the court this month expressing concerns about whether the Justice Department was properly insulated from the president's control in the case. Additionally, several ethics watchdog groups have filed a friend of the court brief challenging the president's lawsuit, including those 93 members of Congress. And I'll tell you, I covered one of those amicus briefs on this week's episode of The Breakdown, which you can find at MuellerSheWrote.com.
Yeah, you do such a great job on that, AG, by the way.
Thank you.
Sky Perriman, president of the CEO of Democracy Forward, an advocacy group that filed an earlier brief, said in response to the dismissal, this case was always a sham and another ploy by the president to access taxpayer funds to line his pockets. Perriman vowed that her group would continue to fight the settlement.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has standing to sue here, though, to stop this. First of all, taxpayers can't sue for how tax dollars are spent. We never could. Article 3 courts can't look at that. You'd think like maybe Hunter Biden can sue. Like, let's say Hunter Biden asks for money and they say no. Nope, it's not reviewable by a judge. And even if he didn't get any money awarded, it's not like it was because the fund was depleted. That's a bottomless fund, even though they say it's $1.776 billion. It's a bottomless fund from the Treasury. So he's not harmed. So he doesn't have standing. I think that the time to do something about this was November 2024, unfortunately.
Exactly.
But, I will keep an eye on the docket, looking at the docket right now to see if the judge has said anything. And no, she has not yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I think he's probably going to, unfortunately, get away with this. Man, it just pisses me off.
Yeah. Like you said, it was time to do something about it was when we had the opportunity to elect the first Black woman president. First woman president, overly qualified, if that's such a thing. Well, compared to Trump, absolutely overly qualified is a thing. But yeah, there was opportunity, AG. But who could stop this? Congress. Congress has oversight. Congress has oversight. So I don't think the courts would, or maybe,
they would have to pass a bill to stop this from happening.
Correct.
And Trump would have to sign it.
Oh, Mike Johnson. Yeah, and Trump would have to sign it. Exactly.
But they could do hearings and stuff, but probably not until we get the House back and maybe flip the Senate. Because the judge in this case wanted to drag the IRS, the Department of Justice, and Trump in to question them under oath. Well, the amici who filed the brief said, the judge, you should bring these people in to question them under oath to see if they're colluding on this. But that's when Trump just dropped the lawsuit. And he didn't ask the court to drop the lawsuit. He told him he was dropping the lawsuit. And usually a court would have to approve that. But in this case, the IRS never answered the lawsuit. And so you can unilaterally dismiss it without judicial review. But we'll see what the judge has to say in response to Jamie Raskin and his 92 other people in their amicus brief, and what she might have to say about the unilateral dismissal. And we'll keep you posted on that. We may have answers to that by the time this episode airs, but you can also keep up over on my Blue Sky account at Mueller, She Wrote. But Jamie Raskin has some more ideas about what to do about January 6th. He's introduced legislation, and you and I are going to talk about that after this quick break. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody. That was the Debbie Downer side of the opening the show. But we got some better news, I think. On the other side of this coin is Representative Jamie Raskin, who I said earlier in the show that I absolutely love. This past week, he introduced a bill in the House to compensate law enforcement for protecting the Capitol on January 6th. This is from the House Judiciary Dems website. Introduced the January 6th Law Enforcement Heroes Compensation Fund Act, legislation establishing a federal compensation program for law enforcement officers who defended the U.S. Capitol during the attack on January 6, 2021.
Yep, it says, quote, on January 6th, law enforcement officers stood in the breach as the Capitol came under violent attack. More than 140 of them were left with lasting physical and psychological injuries as a result of that vicious and unprecedented assault. They confronted a mob intent on disrupting the peaceful transfer of power, and they did so at profound personal cost. Yet we have since seen sustained efforts by the Trump administration to sanitize and distort that history, extending sweeping presidential pardons to those convicted of attacking the Capitol and beating police officers, acting as in-house counsel for the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, and even entertaining taxpayer-funded payouts to violent insurrectionists. Meanwhile, House Republicans have convened a whole January 6th revisionist subcommittee that traffics in denial and historical erasure, while doing precisely zero to support the officers. This bill is about standing up for basic fairness and support to the officers who fought for our safety and our Constitution. We will not forget who defended the Capitol, and we will not allow their sacrifice to be diminished or erased. We hope our Republican colleagues will join us in this police week in actually backing the blue. That's Ranking Member Raskin.
Yeah, love, Jamie. Modeled in part on the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund, the legislation establishes a special master at the Department of Justice appointed by the Attorney General to adjudicate claims for physical injury, emotional trauma, economic loss, or death arising from service during the attack. Eligible surviving families will receive a minimum death benefit of $4.975 million, matching a prior federal payment made to the family of Ashley Babbitt, a January 6th rider who lost her life while storming the House chamber. Even though two different federal investigations found the police officer acted reasonably and lawfully to defend members of Congress from mob violence, but somehow she was awarded a wrongful death lawsuit.
That's a nice touch to match her reward.
Yep.
The bill also ensures parity in federal payments related to January 6th litigation. For any dollar the United States pays to settle claims brought by those convicted of violating the law on January 6th, the special master must distribute an equivalent amount on a pro rata basis to all law enforcement officers who defended the Capitol. So if they hand out this $1.75 billion, they need to match that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The program requires claims to be resolved within 120 days, with final determinations not subject to judicial review, and is fully funded through a standing authorization of appropriations. 47 House Democrats are original co-sponsors of the legislation. So this is on the opposite side, not subject to judicial review. Special master hands out the money, and you got to match dollar for dollar what's been given to the January 6th insurrectionists to give to law enforcement officers.
Well, I'm kind of know how this is going to go on the Republican side. They didn't even want to put a plaque up that we're still fighting for, by the way, let alone pay us $1. But you know what? I won't stop fighting, and I'm really glad that this is happening. Every time they claim to say they back the blue, we always got to push back and let them know you really don't. You had an opportunity to. You have an opportunity to. But yeah, anything that goes against Donald Trump. And also, AG, them, if just say Republicans decided to go along with this would be, counterproductive to what Donald Trump is attempting to do, which we talked about earlier in the show, his report. Because if that's the case, that's admitting some wrongdoing on their behalf. Not the officers, but the people he's paying. So if Congress is saying, hey, officers, yes, we're going to pay the officers who were injured, emotional distress, all the trauma, and even lost lives. If we're going to pay them, then who is responsible for it? Oh, we're also giving the people responsible for it money.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep in mind, Trump will never sign this bill. This is something that would have to be brought up again when we get the White House back in 2029. But it's very, very important that we flip the House at least, and hopefully also flip the Senate, so that we can pass things like this and have them in the hopper waiting for a Democrat to sign in 2029. And also so we can have hearings and have subpoena power and hold people responsible for this stuff. Not just that, but the ICE stuff, right? And not just that, but overturning this $1.7 billion fund and have that ready for a president to sign, when they get into office in 2029. But, make no mistake, particularly stuff like this $1.7 billion fund is a clarion call to white supremacists and domestic violent extremists that not only will you be pardoned if you help me with the coup in 2029, I'll pay you. I'll pay you for it.
I think that's what this does, AG. This is a down payment or a retainer fee, if you will, to have his mob on standby with these midterms coming up, with the way that the elections are going. Republicans aren't going to be in power, and he's already shown that he's willing to do whatever it takes to stay in power. And I think this is a retainer down payment, if you will, to have his mob, his militia. And also, I meant to say this when we talked about it the first time, just say they do pay the Proud Boys. They do pay the Oath Keepers. And as an organization, which they are, you know what? That goes to stockpile weapons. They can buy equipment. So Donald
It's funding
Trump
the next coup.
It's for the next coup. And that's what I think people need to realize is, hey, this is bigger than just a wrongful. Listen, there are injustices that happen in the Department of Justice before Donald Trump's DOJ, and there probably will be afterwards. And those need to be made right because, citizens deserve fair treatment. But that's not what's happening here. And this needs to be called out for what it is. It's a down payment for a retainer payment for his militia to do it again.
Yep. But it's not just Republicans rewarding insurrectionists for their bad behavior. Democrat Jared Polis has commuted the sentence of Tina Peters in Colorado. And we're going to talk about that after this quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. The good news continues. Trump couldn't pardon Tina Peters himself because she went to prison on state crimes. So instead, he pressured Colorado Governor Jared Polis to do it for him. And now the governor is facing blowback for commuting her sentence. This is from the BBC. Colorado's Governor Jared Polis is facing criticism from fellow Democrats after commuting the prison sentence of former county clerk Tina Peters, a 2020 election denier convicted of tampering with election equipment.
Polis, who previously described Peters' 9-year sentence as harsh, give me a break, announced on Friday that she would be released on parole in June. Colorado's top election official and Secretary of State Jenna Griswold called it an affront to our democracy, while some others warned it could embolden efforts to undermine confidence in future elections. I like Jenna Griswold, by the way. She is a fighter and she is a go-getter. And also, when they also in Colorado, they tried to impeach her and charge her. I actually had the opportunity to testify on her behalf. So
yeah, she's great. She was on the Daily Beans when we were going through that whole Anderson case about Section 3 of the 14th Amendment in Colorado.
Yes. Yeah, good. I like her. But moments after the announcement, Donald Trump, who for months has pushed for her release, wrote on social media, "Free Tina Peters." Peters, a Republican, was convicted in August 2024 on 7 counts for her breaching Mesa County election computer systems and allowing an unauthorized individual to access voting equipment and election records.
Yep, and she gave all that data that she helped steal to the Pillow Man. Now, she carried out the breach amidst unsubstantiated claims that mass voter fraud had caused Trump to lose the White House in 2020. The case became one of the most high-profile prosecutions connected to attempts to challenge the outcome of the 2020 election, which Trump falsely claimed had been stolen from him. In a statement shared with BBC through her lawyer on Saturday, Peters expressed remorse for her actions. She said, "I made mistakes, and for those I am sorry. I have learned and grown during my time in prison, and going forward, I'll make sure that my actions always follow the law and I will avoid the mistakes of the past." That's what she said.
Blah, 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 blah. Defending his commutation of Peters, Governor Polis argued that while she did commit a crime, her sentence is simply disproportionate for a first-time nonviolent offender. I didn't know that stealing elections, this reminds me of I think it was in the movie Shaft. And somebody was arguing bail for a guy who's never committed a crime. Well, the charge is murder. I don't believe, having not done it before qualifies for no criminal record in the past. But anyway, to be clear, I'm not pardoning Tina Peters, and I have never considered a pardon, Polis wrote in a lengthy Facebook post, strongly worded email.
I'm just letting her out of jail.
Tina Peters violated state law and broke the public trust by lying to the Secretary of State and illegally accessing a computer room in 2021 prior to a software update, Polis said. Her actions were clearly illegal, wrong, and financially costly to Mesa County in Colorado. It's one of my bedrock beliefs that our laws should be applied fairly, and I simply do not believe that what happened in this case was fair, he added.
But many of us fellow Democrats didn't see it the same way. Quote, "I strongly disagree with this decision." That's Democratic Senator of Colorado Hickenlooper, who wrote this on Twitter, saying, "Reducing her sentence sends the wrong message to those seeking to undermine trust in our elections, and it will do nothing to deter Trump's illegal attacks on Colorado." Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser, a Democrat, called the move truly mind-boggling. "This commutation decision is wrong, and it's an affront to the rule of law," he said. And other Democrats have jumped in to criticize the decision, including me, Allison Gill, who said, "You're fucking stupid if you think that he's not going to still withhold federal funding from Colorado because you're a Democrat." No, other Democrats, Michael Bennet, Colorado Senator, New York Representative Joe Morell, Colorado Representative Jason Crow, many Democrats are speaking out against this, if not all of them.
Yeah, I for one, Harry Dunn, a Democrat, am speaking out against this. I wrote, "I guess Jared Polis is thinking that Republicans will be nice to him and work with him since he forgave a criminal. I'm so sick of this. Let's play nice and hope they will too. Polis, you missed the mark and the pulse of the people with your bad decision."
Yeah, if Polis was being extorted by Trump, threatening to withhold federal funding to Colorado, he should have come forward and said, "I'm not going to do this. Trump's trying to extort me. Fuck that." But no. Yep. No,
yeah,
you got to punch a bully. That's the only way, is fighting back. He's gonna, you think when the wildfires hit Colorado this fall that he's going to give you all the federal funding because you commuted the sentence of Tina Peters? No, he's not. Come on.
Absolutely not. But also, check this out, AJ. A few Republicans, too, are angry. A few Republicans are angry over the commutation. Matt Crane, a Republican and the executive director of the Colorado County Clerks Association, said he was furious, disgusted, and deeply disappointed by the governor's decision. Governor Polis is bending the knee to the same political forces and conspiracy movements that are actively undermining confidence in our democratic institutions, he said. Republicans Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert praised the decision, of course they did, calling it great news and long overdue step towards justice.
Girls. Just because you're kissing his butt doesn't mean he's going to give you any of that $1.7 billion.
Oh my gosh, man. I mean, yeah, it's just ridiculous, man. I'm angry at Polis. Like, this is like, AG, you've seen it. I've seen it. This is what No Kings is about. Having some fortitude. Let's go with fortitude and standing up and fighting back. Like you punch bullies back, metaphorically speaking, guys.
Yes.
But you punch bullies back. You don't invite them to your house and go play games with them and try to befriend them. They're going to punch you and take your games and continue to. Oh my gosh, it just makes me so angry, man. That's why we have a problem winning. That's why we have a problem holding credibility. We don't. And yes, we're always, and it sucks. The Democrats are always held to the higher standard. We are. Donald Trump would never do this unless he wanted something, unless he knew he was getting something in return. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, I guess he must have been thinking, well, if I don't do this, Trump's going to throw however many tens of thousands of Coloradans off their Medicaid or their Medicare, or
he's going to do it regardless.
Yeah, what makes you think?
We talked about that. That was our mindset during the shutdown, AG. Yeah. Because when the Democrats caved, they were like, well, they're already... He's going to do it anyway.
What you do is you say, I'm not going to do it. You tell everyone Donald Trump's extorting you and Coloradans. You let that be reflected in the midterm elections. And if Donald Trump does withhold federal funding illegally, you sue him to get it. That's what happens. That's what you do.
Period.
Anyway. Disappointed. As Kevin Kline says in Fish Called Wanda. All right. More pardons are coming, okay, for the 250th
more pardons
birthday of the United States. We're going to talk about that after this quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody. Okay, no Rudy news, but AG and I were talking, but he might get some of this settlement money too, because they went after Rudy. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, White House officials are weighing a plan for President Trump to issue 250 pardons as a way to mark the celebration of the nation's 250th birthday this summer. And this is according to people familiar with the matter. The plan is still in preliminary discussions, but if carried out, would expand Trump's already wide use of the pardon power.
Wide use is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. His apparent willingness to grant pardons has drawn criticism from both sides of the aisle and encouraged some high-profile candidates to openly campaign to have their convictions or alleged crimes wiped away with a signature. Some in the White House have raised concerns about doing too many more pardons, or any at all, before the midterm elections this fall, some of the people said. Trump could announce the 250 acts of mercy on June 14th, which is both Flag Day and his 80th birthday, or on the 4th of July, some of the people said.
Yeah, White House officials said there are always conversations about how to best carry out the president's priorities, but no decisions had been made. Trump is the ultimate decision maker on any clemency-related actions, the official added. Trump has been determined to put his imprint on the national celebration known as the semi-quincentennial. Yeah, I got that right. Semi-quincentennial.
Doesn't roll off the tongue very well.
The tongue, yeah, just so
inconceivable centennial. He has pushed for a national garden of American heroes featuring 250 life-size statues of figures, including past presidents George Washington, who would hate him, and Ronald Reagan, who would hate him, and baseball pioneer Jackie Robinson, who would hate him. He has launched plans for the Patriot Games, athletic competitions featuring high schoolers, and he's commissioned the repainting of the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial, which started as a $1 million project and now is a $13 million project, which was a no-bid contract awarded to somebody who worked on his pools at Mar-a-Lago.
So stupid. Trump has expanded his use of the pardon in his second term, including mass forgiveness of his supporters charged in connection with the January 6th riot. He pardoned Shangping Zhao, founder of the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance. Trevor Milton, convicted of defrauding investors, and truck maker Nikolai, and Ross. The list just goes on and on. Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the crypto-fueled black market Silk Road.
Drug trafficker.
Trump has discussed widespread pardons for his staff before he leaves. Of course he has.
Yeah, and he also pardoned renowned drug trafficker Juan Orlando Hernandez, former president of Honduras, as part of a scheme, apparently, to set up with Israel to set up some sort of anti-democratic America's news situation. It's just all bullshit. Jolo, the alleged mastermind behind that $4.5 billion theft from Malaysia's government investment fund, 1MDB, he filed for a pardon. So did Fuji's member Pras Michel, who was sentenced to 14 years in prison after being convicted of charges including illegally lobbying the Trump administration on behalf of Jolo and improperly funneling donations to then President Barack Obama's reelection campaign in 2012. And he also, by the way, did that lobbying scheme, $75 million, with Broidy. Remember that guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just the list goes on, and there's a common theme with all these parties: a lot of fraud and a lot of money involved. So I guess pay-to-play schemes, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Bankman-Fried, we know that name, the convicted head of the crypto exchange FTX, has sought a pardon, though Trump has publicly said he has no intentions of granting it. Yeah, we'll believe it when we don't see it, I guess is how it goes here. A lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell has publicly raised the idea of a potential clemency in exchange for a testimony from his client, who is serving a 20-year sentence for helping recruit and groom underage girls for convicted sex offender disgraced Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep. If I was a betting woman, I'd bet the bourbon that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to get a pardon on the 4th of July or Trump's birthday. And he's going to use the excuse that they need to pardon her so that she'll testify. So she has clemency to testify on the Hill and the Epstein issues. But that is not true. You do not need to pardon somebody to give them clemency to testify in front of Congress. You could give them what's called limited use immunity. You can ask Oliver North what that is. He got it to testify before Congress. But he's going, oh, Congress told me, Republicans in Congress told me I had to pardon her so that she'll talk because she pled the fifth before. So now I had to pardon her.
When does he ever have to listen to Congress?
You don't have to pardon her.
Yeah.
But he has to, because otherwise she's going to release a bunch of shit on him because she's got the goods.
Shoot, I can't both. Well, no, I don't want both things to happen. She needs to serve all her time and then some. I don't think 20 years is enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but if she lies to Congress, then the next attorney general can put her back in jail, but not for 20 years.
That's why that pick AG, I think everybody talk about who's going to be the president in 2028, who's going to run. You know, I mean, sure, whatever. Like whoever it is going to have a lot of work to do. But I'm more interested in who the AG is going to be.
I want Jack Smith.
I would love Jack Smith.
That's who I want. He's come out in the last month or so and said, there's a problem at the Justice Department. We don't talk enough to the American people. Mm-hmm. We don't speak.
There are lawyers.
We don't communicate with the American people. And that's one of Garland's biggest failures was that he didn't come out and say, I am investigating this all the way up to Donald Trump. He was, but he didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I'm investigating this all the way up to and including, if necessary, the former president. I have put a team. I have spent this on resources. We have done this. I'm going to appoint a special counsel. He never came out and told us what he was doing. So we all sat there thinking he hadn't done anything until he appointed Jack Smith, but he did. He actually had to sue about a dozen recalcitrant witnesses because they were refusing to testify in front of a grand jury because of executive privilege. That took over a year. And if he had come out and said, man, I am going as fast as I can, but these 12 guys, including, Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows and, Scott Perry, they're fighting me tooth and nail on executive privilege. I have to take them to court in order to get their testimony. It's crucial to bring these charges in this case that we're looking at. But he never came out and said anything. And Jack Smith has said he can't operate in silence anymore at the Department of Justice. And I think he would change that if he were the attorney general. Plus, he dismissed those cases against Donald Trump without prejudice, so he could bring them again. Because he actually said in court filings that it's never been legislated that a statute of limitations should be told during the defendant's presidency because you can't indict a sitting president. And he might challenge that in court and try to bring back the January 6th case.
He is definitely one of the smartest people and forward-thinking person. Because I mean, just that forward-thinking alone. A lot of people said, "Oh, he wins the presidency, everything goes away." Not so fast, because he won't be president forever, which Donald Trump is banking on. Mm-hmm. So that just shows the forward-thinking smartness of Jack Smith. So yeah, I think I'm more excited about who the president's going to be. I mean, the Democrats have a deep bullpen. I think at the top. Who can lead in especially moments like this. And some I think are better than the others. However, the AG, you've got to be very strategic there. And somebody who isn't as afraid to go after any and everybody, and two, has the wherewithal and the ability to
talk
do
about it.
And Jack Smith has already shown us that.
And tell us what you're doing. Tell us what you're doing. You don't have to jeopardize the cases.
He held a press conference. He did that. So, I mean, good for him.
He was, we were like, we're desperate for information about what was going on. Instead, everybody decided and speculated and made all these.
That was probably one of the most tuned in press conferences that probably ever happened. Was Jack Smith presser.
But remember,
everybody watched that.
Remember, even if a badass like Jack Smith is the attorney general, you got to get these cases past this corrupt Supreme Court. And in order to do that, we got to add 4 seats to the Supreme Court. And in order to do that, step 1 is we have to win the House and we have to win the Senate, because
absolutely,
we have to win the Senate. We have to flip the Senate so that we can block any SCOTUS nominees. We can give them the McConnell treatment.
Well, not just win the House, AG. And when I'm learning, especially in this time of running for Congress, that all Democrats aren't on the same page about this. So we need to, Republicans are strong when it comes to institutional changes and
bullshit. Yeah.
Republicans are strongly united about not giving Democrats an ounce of power, an iota of power. Mm-hmm. Democrats, however, aren't obviously, and we see that with Jared Polis. Totally missed the mark there. So we have to elect Democrats who are actually forward thinking and see the game, not even the game, the corruption that the Republicans in Congress are doing right now. And we need to elect the right Democrats, not just somebody with because they have a D beside their name.
Yes. However, if your Democratic choice does not win, please vote for the Democrat that is on the ballot in the general election. Because you can push, once that Democrat takes office, you can push them to do the right thing. You can't push a Republican anywhere. You don't have a seat at the table. There's no fucking table. The only answer is to elect Democrats. And if they aren't the best Democrat that you wanted, you got to elect them anyway and push them to do the thing.
Yep.
That's the thing.
I'm with you.
All right, everyone. Not a lot of good news today. I like Jamie Raskin's bill, though.
Yes.
So I'm gonna focus on that. That's what I'll be daydreaming about as we go forward from the news dump today. And of course, we might have more information on that $1.776 billion slush fund from the judge, Obama appointee in the Southern District of Florida, Kathleen Williams. We might have more information by the time this episode airs. For up to the minute stuff, you can check out the Daily Beans. You can also follow me at MullerSheWrote.com. And you can also follow my Blue Sky account at MullerSheWrote, because I put little video updates on this particular story, because it is the single biggest U.S. presidential corruption grift heist in the history of the United States, in my opinion.
United States. I agree.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to our patrons. For the patrons, we'll see you at the bonus episode at the end of the week. And for the rest of you, see you next week. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, Sean.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.